Hello, Atlanta Athletic Club. Matt Check, PGA Teaching Pro here at the club. Let's go ahead and recap our clinic we did this morning about pitching a golf ball. Learning how to slide the club head under the golf ball, get it to kind of launch higher, land softer. A pitch shot is just when we need to carry over something. In general, I've set up the shot here where if I chipped it, I'd have to land it short of the green to get near the hole. So if I pitch it, I can land it on the green. I know how it's going to react, and I can be a little bit more consistent with how close I get it to the hole because I'm landing it on the green. So when we pitch a golf ball, that's kind of plain and simple part of it. Last week we talked about chipping. It was more of a descending blow in the back of the stance, maybe even using a square face or leading edge into the turf. Now as we set up for a pitch, we need to introduce what we call the bounce, which is the rounded flange part of the golf club. That rounded part is kind of our safety net. If we can get the bounce to hit the ground, it should not make a divot. Now that's kind of the main things that you want to look at when you're pitching a golf ball. There's all these different lies. We could be into the grain, we could be uphill, all these things that may promote a digging of the club head, but we need to get the club to slide on the ground, use the bounce. So if we talked about how we're going to pitch a golf ball, let's get into it and talk about setup and swing and the things that we can do to become a better pitcher of the golf ball. First things first, in setup, we want the club face to be open. I can talk about that as just having the grip a hair to the right before we grip it. Don't be scared if that makes the club head appear like it's going to shoot off to the right. The ball's still going to ride up the face on our target line and go straight. So don't let that fool you. Now, if the face is open though, it's imperative that the ball is in the middle to the front of the stance. That gives it ample time to square up as we're coming through. You cannot open the face and put it in the back of your stance like a chip and assume that you're going to hit it properly. You're going to have the club face open. So for setup wise, we want to make sure that the club face is slightly open before we grip it. We want to put the golf ball in the middle to the front of the stance. That front heel is a good kind of checkpoint of where to have it. Toes still pointed out because we definitely want to turn through it. And that's pretty much where we're at. Now our hands are still in the same position they were for a chip on the inside of the front thigh. Just the ball is there, so the hands are really even with the ball. Okay? Now, let's talk about the swing and how can we swing the golf club for a pitch shot. Well, I have the TrackMan up and I do not want a descending angle too much like I would a chip. A chip we were hitting 4 or 5 degrees down on the ball because it was in the back of our stance and we had the hands in front. But now with a pitch shot, we're trying to slide under it, so the attack angle needs to be more shallow, something around that, -2 to 0 range. That's going to allow us to slide under the golf ball and hit it properly. So if we set up and we went for a chip, if we were going to say, what do I need to do to have a shallow angle of attack? Well, the first thing we would talk about is making sure that we don't have excessive amounts of upwards verticality to the club head on the backswing. This is going to make it want to come down steep. So kind of the wider motion here, and I'll put some swings on the side, is going to help it kind of come in like a plane landing on the ground, not necessarily like a helicopter bouncing down. That's going to help us shallow out our angle of attack. Another way is to have the club actually work kind of inside. Having the club work inside is also going to sweep the grass better as well. Now, you kind of combat that inside move with standing closer to the ball, because standing slightly closer to the ball is going to help us not hinge our wrists or radial deviate the wrist too much to get the club up and steep. If we stand a little closer and we work inside, it turns into more of this kind of windmill looking pitching motion, and that's going to be really good if we're into the grain or on an uphill lie. You can get away on this flat lies with no grain with kind of some wrist and a lot of throw, but if we have a really tough lie, we need to introduce these things that allows the club not to make a big divot. when you go out to the range and you practice, we just want to make sure that we're taking plenty of practice swings and the club is sliding through the turf, sliding off the ground, bouncing off the ground and not digging. So we talked about making the angle of attack more shallow by keeping the club low to the ground and inside. Okay. Now, for the swing, it's just a bigger swing than you could ever imagine for the most people. When you open the face, you put the ball in the front of your stance, you do a swing without a whole lot of wrist, it's not going to come out very, very fast. And we actually, when we pitch the ball, we want it to come off soft. So we need to take a longer backswing, longer finish than we normally would think. Doing that is going to help us to make sure that everything's moving the right speed and we have very consistent action. So that's kind of the thoughts we have during the swing. Now, the actual shot in itself, I sometimes will put a pine needle or maybe even a leaf behind the ball, and that's kind of where we're entering the ground. Too many people think that you have to hit down on a pitch shot. You do not have to hit down. You're just getting under the ball. That arc is pretty long at the bottom, so we can have a safety net of 3 to 4 inches, so we can go 2 inches behind and 2 inches in front. So that type of entering the ground in that spot. So if I hit a shot and I have this leaf here, you can kind of hit one up there. I got the ball in front, face slightly open. I'm just going to kind of elongate this descent instead of coming down on it, and then do a longer swing than I think. Can watch that shot. I got the leaf and I got the ball and I had tons of check on it. So there you go. My attack angle was zeroed out. There was no descent on that. My club head was actually slightly in front of my hands at impact. So, all these things we're doing is taking distance away. So you got to be comfortable with making a bigger kind of swing to hit the ball where you need to go. If you think about distance of the shot or the pitch, you need to think about length of swing, not speed of swing. So we can learn how to judge the length of our shot by the length of our swing, not by the speed of our swing. We have this kind of way of testing it, and if we're swinging proper length and proper speed, the ball comes off the face the same speed that you're swinging, or a smash factor near 1.0. That's going to kind of give us our best results. I hope this lesson helped you. I hope you can go to the range and really take some practice swings and get the feel of the ground, get the feel of the lie that you're hitting, and see if with that open face and that big backswing, we can still get this turn through. We can still get the feeling of sliding it on the ground, and we can practice hitting these shots with our highest lofted club or our sand wedge. There's this, that's kind of where you need to be hitting, is the sand wedge or lob wedge when you're pitching. Anything else is going to turn into a chip. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching.